This is Wright Brennan with Lost in the Midlands, and I'm here with Curtis Washington, Abstrakt Phokus Media, team member on the Lost in the Midlands podcast, the man. Curtis, we're going to do a little debrief on our podcast here.
I like it. It kind of reminds me of the Army. We did what was called after-action reviews after every mission, so sounds good to me.
Awesome. Yeah, not quite as exciting probably as a military debrief, but we've done some stuff, so we might as well talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, one of the benefits of having this podcast is working on a team, working with you, working with Melanie. It's been really exciting, and I know that I'm fielding some questions from people like, you know, why'd you do it? Where did it begin? Some other stuff, some stuff that we've talked about. And I thought, let's just let the world know kind of, you know, what's going on a little behind the scenes of Lost in the Midlands.
I like it. I like the idea.
So first question that is the most common is, you know, and I know you started your own podcast too, so you can kind of give me, you know, why you started yours. I'll tell you a little bit about, you know, what my motivation here. Yeah. One motivation for me for starting the podcast is business development, you know.
Right. I agree.
Let's always try to grow our brand. Let's try to get in front of more customers so we can help more people in whatever we're doing.
And deeper than that, you know, like what your show does, as well as what my show will be doing, is highlighting other business owners who are doing the exact same thing. Because the fact of the matter is, in order to be in business, no matter what it is that you do, marketing is everything.
Yeah.
And getting interviewed to talk about your business, you know, for any length of time is marketing, especially when you're taking it and cutting it down into clips and posting it on YouTube and posting it on Reels and Shorts and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the same reason that you started yours is the same reason I started mine, is to help, one, amplify the voice of my brand, but to also use my brand to amplify the voices of others. Yeah. Because there are a lot of business owners that are out there that are doing amazing things, but they don't have the voice or the megaphone that's saying, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is why I do it. Yeah. So a podcast assists in doing that, in my personal opinion. That's why I started it. It's called the Shooters Only Podcast. We're still in the early stages of production, just kind of getting everything ironed out. We're also going to be recording here in the same studio, Got Sound Studio here off of Mineral Springs in South Carolina.
We'll see the plant in the background.
Well, actually, we're going to be recording in a different room. Okay. Because I didn't want both shows to look too similar. I said,
all
no.
right, this is going to be the Lost plant.
Yeah, this is the Lost in the Midlands. Yeah, enough. And then I'm going to be in a different room with a different color scheme. But yeah, so Shooters Only Podcast, and you know, the thing that I'm doing at the very top of the first episode is explaining what shooters only means. Yeah. Because of course, when you hear that, we're in the South, we're in, you know, I'm ex-military. Immediately, people are gonna think, oh, you're talking about guns. No, not talking about guns. I like guns. I fire guns, but I'm not talking about guns. And then of course, being a photographer, my co-host being a photographer and a cinematographer as well, they're gonna think that that's what we're talking about. On a very low scale, what we're talking about is people who take their shots in life. Because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. That's the difference between someone who has their own and someone who facilitates to someone who has their own. Yeah. You had an opportunity, you took that shot, and you went for it regardless of what anybody else thought. In my mind, that's a shooter. So, you know, that's where
there's a lot of layers to that. You've got it layered deep with the name right there. We hadn't even seen the episode yet.
Yeah, I've been running some clips here and there, and even the clips that I've been running don't even articulate what is actually being done on the podcast, because it's really just me and my co-host roasting each other the whole time. Because man, the first
sounds like a good time.
It is, man. We spent more time laughing than actually talking, so it works out pretty well.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned how, you know, it helps the guest, it helps us, it helps multiple different facets. Who doesn't love a win-win? When you got a win-win, you got to keep moving in that direction.
Exactly. I mean, and the thing is, in business, you know, especially when you're in the very beginning, there's a lot of focus on competition. Yeah. Which, yes, you're in competition with other roofing companies. I'm in competition with other photographers and cinematographers. But at the end of the day, those same people that I'm competing against, I eventually will have to collaborate with. Yeah. Because, you know, again, I'm doing a podcast with another photographer and cinematographer, and he's coming to me to learn how to do videography. He never did it before. Yeah. He's coming to me to learn it. I could be, you know, so caught up on the competition, like, nah, man, I can't help you. But the way I see it is, if I help him, there's gonna come a time, and there has come times where he's gonna have a job that he can't do. He's gonna take into account, Curtis helped me learn videography. Curtis helped me with this particular photo shoot that I had an issue with. I'm gonna give this job to him because I know he's going to do right. So, at the end of the day, I focus on collaborative efforts way more than competitive efforts. Because at the end of the day, we can be in the same field of arena.
Yeah.
But at some point, we're gonna have to do this together.
Yeah, and that also speaks to your mindset. You're not thinking about the scarcity of work. You're thinking about the abundance, and you hear over and over how that is an important part of success. It also speaks to your philosophy, and we're going to shout out John Scarborough, iron sharpens iron.
There it is. There it is. I mean, it doesn't get, you can't find a better statement than that. I mean, iron sharpens iron. Teammate makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Goodness, I can't speak right now. But at the end of the day, it's a collaborative effort. It's me and you and I doing this together. There's an ancient African proverb. I heard Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode, say it first, and I've heard it several times since then. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's freaking awesome. This is Wright Brennan, the owner of C. Wright Roofing. When it comes to the maintenance of your roof, you want to know that you have an experienced team that knows what they're doing. And with 10 years in the business, we check all the boxes. Leaky roof, storm damage, or just overdue on maintenance, give us a call at 803-828-4181 for a free estimate. Again, that's 803-828-4181. And remember, our commitment is to roof it the right way. Yeah, and I mean, that's why you got to put a team together.
Yes.
You got to have people to help you.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the beginning story. I think we were on a job site, actually. We were videotaping my guys doing an install.
Yeah.
And you had just joined BNI, and you were like, you should think about doing some kind of radio or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but.
Well, it's a couple things. First, that was the second time I brought it up. The first time I brought it up was when we first met. I came into the BNI meeting. At that time, you were the outgoing president. I think you had one or two more meetings where you were going to be presiding. And you walked in, it's like, hey, Wright Brennan, how you doing? And I'm like, dude, who's this guy? His voice just reverbed my soul. But
that's how you get people to join. If you're a president, you gotta approach people like that.
Yeah, but your voice is very catching. When people, it's one of those things where people hear you speak, they're going to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
But so going back to the job site conversation, we were talking about, I said, man, you should consider doing a voiceover to your commercial. Because I feel like, it's one of those things like, you can show the video and some cool music behind it, but if you have a good voiceover that's articulating everything that's being shown in this, it stands out even more. It just adds another layer to what you're trying to do. So, yeah.
That was also the first time I saw you pull out all your equipment. I was like, oh, Curtis is actually legit. He's got a drone. He's got 5 cameras.
Yeah, man. People don't realize how intense it gets. You
got a lot of equipment.
Yeah, and I'm still acquiring more. I'm never done. Even since we've started this podcast, I mean, you've watched me. I'm telling, hey man, I'm buying this. Hey man, I'm buying that. Hey Kurt, you don't have to buy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because at the end of the day, my efforts behind the camera amplify your efforts in front of the camera, amplify all the efforts of the show in general.
Yeah.
So, I'm never going to stop acquiring equipment. It just doesn't end.
Toys, man. It's awful how,
every last one of them is my babies, they're all my children.
I will say my favorite is the switcher thing you got, man. That thing, we took it up a level when we got the switcher in
man.
here.
The switcher, it definitely amplified production tremendously. Of course, I'm just using it to make sure that all the footage is in focus and it looks good. But basically, I can hold it up.
Yeah, check this thing out.
So this is the Atomos X Cast, and basically what it does is, while I'm recording, I press the button 1, 2, or 3 because I have 3 camera angles. I press the button 1, 2, and 3, and that is basically how I edit the show. without having to actually take it home and put it on my laptop and do it in real time. You know, of course, I still have to take the footage and put it on the program, but that's literally just to color grade. That's to, you know, like as we're listening to this, you can hear all the plosives, which is like every time I say the letter P, it does that popping noise, or all the heightened sounds behind the letter S. So I have to take it in and deal with that stuff. I also have to take it in and color grade it, because what I'm recording is a very flat profile. So, you know, I take it in, make the colors look good. And if there's any little, you know, things that need to be adjusted, I adjust them. But realistically, it took my post-production time from, say, an hour and a half to 20 minutes. Yeah. Really? So
that speaks to just like we're getting better at, you know, producing the show. I mean, there's so many details. Like, for instance, even the mics. Like, we had the mics that were here. We're like, oh, these mics are going to be better. And we put the headsets on, and that's going to make better audio. And there's just a lot of improvements that, you know, it takes a little time to kind of get to where you're really falling into, you know, hey, look, everything's quality.
Yeah, especially the microphones, I think, was the biggest challenge. Because, you know, when we first started recording, technically our first episodes were Denny McMillan with Wildflower Salon and Scott Michael King. Scott, I hope everything's going well with you and your family. You're in my prayers. He's going through some things right now. But Scott's King's Handyman Services. But those were our first two, and me. And
those back to back.
Yeah, and none of that footage was usable.
Hey, that almost ended the whole podcast right there.
It really did.
I was like, I don't know if I can do this, man.
Yeah, he was like, hey, man, listen, you know, I was like, right? Hey, just let me cook. Let me do what I do. I'm going to fix it. But, yeah, because basically the mic stands were so tall, and it was like, well, and also Neek, the owner of Got Sound Studio, he took the legs off of the table, the wheels, which lowered the table some, which helped us out a lot. But basically, the entire podcast, Denny's microphone was like this. I can't see her face. So I said, yeah, no, we're going to have to do that again.
Well, shout out to them for coming back on and being up to do another interview. And the actually, I feel like it made a big improvement.
It did. Luckily, though, with Scott's interview, we were able to salvage his because of the way it was. I was able to kind of just play around with the angles. That's one of the reasons I use 3 angles is, you know, we use the wide angle, which is the main camera that's focused on the two of us. And I just made 3 angles out of that. And it worked out perfectly. So it saved a lot of frustration and stress in editing.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, we'll have to give some credit here to Melanie, who is helping us do some of the micro editing, you know, Curtis putting together the full form content. Melanie's out there chopping it up, putting together reels for us, distributing it. And, you know, she is also kind of going through some of the same challenges, fixing different pieces. It takes a team.
It does. It takes a team. It takes consistent communication. Because you know, one thing that you and I have done from the top of this is we have constantly been on the phone. Hey, I got an idea. Hey, this didn't work out so well. Let's try this instead. Yeah. And I can definitely say that from those conversations, that consistent effort of being better, we have definitely gotten better. You know, this isn't a plug and play operation. You know, it has to become that. Yeah. It starts off. Some assembly required. You know, some assembly required, and you know, you get it right. You figure out where the shortfalls are, and then it becomes a plug and play operation. I show up, put the cameras on, turn it on. Literally, you come in and I'm already waiting on you. It's like, all right, I'm ready. Hey, record. Let's go.
Ready. Hey, that is a well-oiled machine.
There it is.
We're showing up and we're getting right to work. So, heck yeah,
absolutely,
killing it, Curtis. Yeah, and. You know, I'll also say, you know, on my end, too, it's taken a little time to kind of piece together appropriate questions and figure out how to bring them to the guest's attention in a way that's going to bring out the best answer. You know, all around, it's almost like running a business. You know, you got to try different things. You're going to get better in certain areas, and that's just what it is.
It really is. Like, you know, and deeper than that, you know, it starts off as a money pit. You know, you're putting money in, putting money in. Ain't no money coming out yet. You're putting money in, but eventually it picks up steam. It makes sense. People respect it, and then it's like, hey, I want to sponsor you. Hey, I want to help what do you need? Like, then people start kicking in because they see what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You know, so
and hey, I need a roof, man. I saw your podcast. That was pretty legit.
Yeah.
Or I want some photography or cinematography services.
Exactly.
So there's just enough wins to make it really make sense.
Absolutely. I've actually had a few people contact me, like the guy who owns the studio, Neek. Him and I are building a partnership where beyond this podcast, I may be recording other podcasts that are done through this studio because, you know, you see the quality, you see the work, you see the effort, you see that I know what I'm doing. Yep. Hey, I need my quality to step up too. Let me go holler at this guy and see what he has for me. I've also had people outside of this who have said, hey, you do a podcast? Yeah, I do it. How do you do it? Now people are picking my brain and now people are wanting to know things. And two things happens with that. I have no problem sharing the information. I will give it to you. But not everybody is going to do it. Some people are like, I can get up on my own roof and do it. It's not impossible. It's definitely difficult.
I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I'll tell everybody how to do it.
Yeah,
you still don't want to, I promise.
Yeah, like you know, especially not in this heat. Lord have mercy. Not in this heat. But you know, not everybody's gonna do it. Some people are DIY guys and some people are Mr. You do it. Yeah. You know, so, you know, if I come across those people where I tell them, well, this is what you got to do, this is how you got to do it, well, since you already know it, you do it. Okay, here's my price, you know, and now I'm generating money because of what I've done with you or what I've done for myself. So it's just way more W's in the win-loss column than there are L's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I think about it 100%. One thing I wanted to also touch on a little bit is, you know, just in podcasting, I keep hearing over and over again how you got to niche down into one specific thing. Mm-hmm. Now, with my style and kind of the way that we're setting up on my end, you know, I love hearing a wide variety of people, like all different types of people. But we are kind of niched in some, you know, in some ways, like entrepreneurs, people who are operating like really it's professionals, professionals in the area. And people who are, you know, just doing awesome stuff. We got nonprofits on here, a lot of home improvement people, and shout out to all the guys in there in the trades. You know, they don't get enough love.
No, y'all do not. Because I tell you what, listen, I cannot count on one hand. I cannot count how many times I'm a DIY guy. I like to do it myself, mainly because I just like to keep my money in my pocket. But
let's be honest.
There are many. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this story about yesterday because.
You better not have been up on your roof, whatever the story.
No, that house is way too new for that. But no, so yesterday, and I was actually going to tell Rob when we get to the BNI meeting, I was going to tell him next time I'm calling you. But so my father-in-law moved here. For those of y'all who don't know from my original episode, my wife is deployed. She has been for going on 9 months now. We're inside of 60 days. Cannot wait till she comes home. But my father-in-law moved from Michigan to be assistants to me with my kids. I got 3 children, 5 and under. That's a lot of work on top of doing this and my own personal business stuff outside of that. Thankfully now they're all in school and daycare, so that saves a lot of money and energy. But in the time that my father-in-law has been here, I've helped him move 3 times. It's not a whole lot of stuff, but I've helped him move 3 times. Yesterday, hands down, the worst of all 3. Like by the time I was so gassed. I have never been so tired in this time than that. And I thought to myself, I said, hey man, listen, if you got to move again, I'm gonna just send you a moving company. I'm not doing it. I love you. I appreciate everything you do for me. I'm not doing it.
That was it. He's cashed out on it.
Oh yeah, I am maxed out.
Yeah. That was a fun episode with Gentlemen Movers. Awesome guys over there. You know, I want to also talk a little bit about another thing, and you're probably so sick of hearing me talk about this algorithm that we're trying to figure out. I'll tell you, I didn't know much about social media, the extent of how the algorithm works and all these things until, we started this production. And it really is interesting, getting together content that is going to resonate with the audience has been a fun, challenging, it's interesting, and you just don't know what it's a big question mark on what the algorithm thinks.
Right. Well, see, the thing is, the algorithm is ever evolving. It's always changing. You can go on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, and there's always some algorithm expert who's telling you all the new changes that have happened that were not this way literally 30 days ago. Instagram is always changing. TikTok, Twitter, they're all always changing.
It's a moving target.
It's a moving target. It's like that scene in Rocky where he has to chase a chicken and catch it. That's what it is. And the reality of it is, it's chemistry at the end of the day. You're trying to find that right balance that will stand the test of whatever the algorithm throws at you, because the algorithm is going to change all the time. You have to find that recipe that is consistent no matter what. Because I'll even with my own social media, my House Husband Chronicles that I do, which is more so the lighter side of life and more so a personal side of life, I hit a decent following count pretty fast, and then it slowed down. Yeah. Well, the algorithm has changed. It doesn't really respect what I'm doing right now. Me personally, I'm not for that. I don't really care. Like I'm good with it not being a crazy clip. I'm still getting followers. I'm still getting likes. I'm still getting views. I'm still getting all the things. And I enjoy the fact that it is a very grassroots operation that I'm doing with that. Yeah. But of course, for business, way different.
You gotta have the trend.
You gotta have a trend, and you want to be trending at all times. Yeah. So with that, it's really just every time you think you know it, you don't. Yeah. Every time you think you got it, you don't. Every time you think you have the right recipe, you taste it again. It's like, nah, I need to add this or I need to add that. So the best answer I can give to us as well as anyone who's thinking about doing this, you have to constantly evolve. Yep. You will never be able to find you will never do one thing and that one thing is all that it is. You have to constantly evolve.
Another piece of, podcasts is kind of like a business. Got to keep changing with the market, with the algorithm, whatever it is.
Yes.
All right. Last thing maybe that we'll touch on is the BNI core value, building relationships. Something that's been a lot of fun in the podcast is having BNI people on, having all different types of people on, and building better relationships, being able to help them, and having you on, making a team here where we're growing. You feel like that's kind of resonated, and so
for sure. Because at the end of the day, like, I didn't know the extent of people that you knew. I didn't know like what avenues you have your hands in just from knowing people. Different marketers and HR directors and app developers and all these different things. I'm thinking, we're probably just gonna interview a bunch of tradesmen and handymen and things like that. No, like Wright knows. The phrase "Lost in the Midlands" isn't just a catchy title. It's literally the embodiment of the show. This man knows everybody.
No, that's not true. But hey, and shout out to Bill Danielson. I know you're excited to see his podcast.
Yeah, man.
My politician buddy. So.
Yes, but my point is, so many different people. And so many different people who play in so many different arenas. And by having you, the fact of the matter is, I cannot connect with every client that I am going to get. But I can connect with the person who's going to connect me with the client. Yeah, that's what building relationships is all about. I don't know everyone that you know. You don't know everyone that I know, but I know somebody who needs what you got, and you know somebody who needs what I have. Yeah. So it works out. It's literally one hand washing the other. And then on top of that, there are people who have come in here that have started communicating with me because they see what I'm doing and now they want a piece of this too. Like, hey, how can I get you to help me with my social media? Yeah. How can I get you to help me with, I want to do a podcast. How can I get you to help me with that? So at the end of the day, you won't always have a team when you start your business.
That's right.
That's fine. You'll get there. Yeah. You won't always have all the knowledge when you start a business. That's fine. You'll get there. But what you gotta have, no matter what, you gotta have the relationships. Yep. You can't start a business and be your only client.
That's right.
So you gotta know somebody.
Somebody's gotta pay you some money.
Somebody's gotta do it.
Now, that is a great place to wrap up. I'll also say, for me, business is people. People are business. This thing, it all wraps together. It's why I love this podcast, BNI, running everything. Curtis, man, it's been awesome working on this.
It really has. I've had a great time.
And let's keep it rocking, man.
Yeah, we're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off as far as I'm concerned.
Rock and roll. All right.
All right.
Hey everyone, many thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow and click the bell to stay up to date on future episodes, or click the link to watch another previous episode. Also, don't forget to like, share, and please leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback.